Showtime. Right. So yeah, we're here now. Okay, so yeah, just gonna wait a little bit, see if people show up. This is a very impromptu stream here. Uh, Again, like I said so in the description already, I really was kind of bored, so I decided just why not hop on and let's just see what happens. So yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to Brars Music Showcase. I'm Brars Cisneros, of course. So yeah, we're here. Let's just see what happens. And already we have a couple people in the chat. So let's take a look. So of course we have Mike from Did You See That? Yo, Mike, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, doing pretty well. I'm actually just finished this semester, so I am going to be taking a break for the summer. So I should be a bit more free. Well, then again, I have a summer. I have work too, so I still have to deal with that. But at least for the most part, at least in the mornings, I'm a bit more free. So yeah. Next up, we have Aaron Morris. Hello. I'm assuming that's supposed to be yo, but there's a little random e there. But I'm fine with that. All right, so we have 6 people in here already. All right, good to see all of you. Glad you can stop by. Okay, then enjoy your break, man. Whatever you're on the downtime, make the most of it, dude. Yep, I will. Just gonna mainly focus it on whatever free time I have. Is probably gonna be focusing on probably a lot of videos. Just gonna work on that. I have ideas, but again, today I just wanted to take it easy because again, I just had finals, so of course that stuff you kind of want to just chill after that. So hopefully by probably Monday, sometime tomorrow, we'll start making videos again. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. All right, so yeah, like I said, I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about. So yeah, we'll see what I have to tell. I guess I'll talk about some things that have come up. I'll talk more about the end of the semester. Just kind of talk about how that went because there's a funny story. It's kind of funny, but also kind of sad. So before we do that, we have here's somebody I haven't seen before. Jack CD Cave. Hey, so nice to see you, Jack. Glad you can stop by. Oh, yeah, so yeah, gonna talk about what happened. So this was a Thursday. So yeah, it's a Thursday, so a couple days ago, and the last class for the day was a creative writing class. I took a creative writing class because I thought it'd be kind of fun because I've always had interest in writing. So I took that class to see what would happen, and I did pretty good in that class. I wrote a lot of good stuff in it, and one of them was, and I did a poem as well. It won best poem in this class, so that was pretty good for me. I boosted my ego. But anyhow, so for the last day of, hold on a sec. Jack says that's Briar. Sorry. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's okay. Most people always misspell it or mispronounce it. So yeah, you're good, man. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So last day, I started off well enough, kind of started like normal because we had a couple honors presentations. So people who took an honors class kind of had to do a presentation on, one of their favorite writers, I guess. And we did that one. It was pretty good. It was about Ray Bradbury, for those who are curious, and that was a good presentation. And then after that, we were supposed to do like a class photo. It was just a simple thing, just somebody get their phone, then take a photo of the class, that sort of thing. So we were gonna do that, but before we did it, one of the other students in it had to say something. So this guy, he's kind of an older person. I say he's in his late 50s, maybe early 60s. I'm assuming. So he decides to come up because he had something to say. Started off well enough. He decided he showed a clip from Modern Family for some reason, which was amusing. I don't know. I don't remember what the clip was, so I don't know if I can bring it up. Uh, but yeah, he showed that, and then after he was done with that, he decided to give his whole words of wisdom from an old saint or whatever. That's probably not a good way to say it, but something on that line. And so basically it was on the lines of saying, "Oh, it's been great being in the class. From an old person speaking to the young generation, please use your writing to convey your message or showcase your art," and typical stuff. But then, fine enough. But once he was done, he decides to pass out this random essay, which I kept. So the basic premise, and I'm going to read it to you. Is it appropriate to use vulgar and profane language in my classroom presentation? And it goes on to say, no. No, it is not appropriate to use vulgar and profane language in your classroom presentation. Such language is considered to be disrespectful and unprofessional, and it can create a hostile learning environment. It is important to remember that your students are still developing their learning skills, and they may not be familiar with the meaning of a vulgar or profane words. Using such language in your presentation can confuse or offend them, and it can also set a bad example for them. So, fair enough. I get where he's coming from. There's like one big issue with that I have with this. First off, it's a creative writing class. So, especially, and on top of that, it's a college level creative writing class. So you do have a bit more freedom to use vulgar language in your writing, because again, it comes down to how you want to convey it. If the mood calls for somebody to drop an F-bomb, heck, put it in there. So yeah, and you're going off the college thing. So this is written in a way it's meant to go for like maybe a middle school or elementary school level. But yeah, so I don't know why he wants to show this to a college class, because again, we're we're older, so we have a bit more leeway. So I don't know. And again, it kind of contradicts what he's saying, because he's saying like use your writing to convey your message or art and stuff like that. But then you show me this, and I'm like, okay, so I can't swear when I'm presenting my art. So I don't know, it just came off a bit condescending and a bit hypocritical. But I took it. So I kept it. But inside I was like, okay, thank you. But yeah, for the most part, I kept silent. So I thought that was it from then on. We took the class photo, and so it was time to. After that, it was pretty much it. We could leave early. So before I left, I had to turn in a presentation. I had to turn in like a portfolio, that stuff I was writing throughout the class. I grabbed it. I went to the front of the classroom, and I was ready to turn it in. And I had a whole speech ready. Well, not a speech, but a little goodbye notice to the professor, being like, "Thank you for having me. Had a great time in this class." So yeah. So I was about to do that when I heard arguing behind me. And so I looked behind me, and I see the same guy and another student, and they're arguing. So this other person, she was like young, she was definitely more closer to my age, and she's a female, and she got really offended by this. Like really offended. Like she was pissed off. And she got so mad that she tore this whole thing up and just threw it at his face. And yeah, and so students came around. They had to try to break it up. Then finally, the professor came out and was able to separate them and remove one of them out of the room. And so yeah, that totally killed them. That totally killed the mood. So I didn't know how to react to that afterwards. So I was just like, once the professor came back, I was like, okay, here you go," and then I just left. So yeah, long story short, very interesting way to close out a semester. I mean, I mean, I don't think the female shouldn't have gone that violent about it, but at the same time, the guy kind of had it coming, so it's weird. I don't know. I don't like drama. Just waste of time. All right, so while I was talking there, we have a couple more comments. We have Nick here. Hello, Nick. What's up? Yeah, not much. I just told a whole story about how chaotic my last day of this semester was. Okay, and then Jason's here. Hey, Briar, how's it going? Not too much is going on at the moment. Like I said, I'm bored, so here I am. But yeah. So yeah, let's see what else is going on. I have another cat now. She's not in here at the moment, but I now have 5 cats now. And I a lucky guy. So yeah, she's a very tiny one too. She's like this big, like almost like I want to say only like a few months old, like a few months old. I want to say she's kind of like a light gray type of cat, and she has blue eyes. She's adorable. So yeah, we have 5 cats now, and so now I have to deal with. Well, my older brother is in charge of the cats, but yeah, definitely gets hectic sometimes. Right? I guess I missed an interesting story. Oh yes, you did. Let's just say it involves it's basically a generational gap situation. So yeah, just some pointless drama, and you can just watch the playback once I'm done. Me too, I guess. Okay, so you had another cat too. You can. All right, and my dad's friend gave me the CSN. Oh, he did. Okay, that's cool. He said he really liked my knowledge of music, so he gave me his copy. Wow, that's pretty awesome, man. That's cool. Yeah, especially because you said it was an original pressing as well. Yeah, that's a good steal. That was very nice of him too. So awesome. All right, so what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was talking about the cat. Oh yeah, so I have a cat now. So yeah, awesome, Nick. Yes, it is. All right, so we still have 6 viewers here. So again, for the 6 viewers here, thank you so much for being here. It means a lot. Making this a lot of fun so far. It's getting interesting. I guess in terms of summer plans for me, just this. And then I have work as well. I'm still working at the Cry Studio, so I'm doing that. So that's gonna be a big thing throughout the summer, especially during the summer. We have instructors that go on vacation, so I may have more shifts. So we'll see if that affects my recording time. But yeah, school over. At least for me. I mean, you could at least for the particular college I go to, you can take summer classes as well. But heck no, I'm not doing that. Who wants to take summer classes? Come on. All right. So there's another comment I saw in a sec. It's gonna pop up, and here they go. And here's by somebody who has been commenting a lot of my videos lately. We have Irish Flink. Hopefully I said that right. Sorry. He asks, "What's your favorite summer music?" That's a good question. It's usually just whatever. I don't really have like a summer playlist or stuff like that. Like maybe some Beach Boys, some of the surf rock stuff from the Beach Boys. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Again, I'm like all over the place. Just depends on my mood. I never took summer classes. Yep. Smart man. All right. So yeah, that's like some of the big stuff that's happening. So yeah. So Jason and Nick, or if anybody else wants to come on and join me, let me know in the chat and I'll send a link out. Actually, no, I'll do it now. Let me do it now. Let's just see what happens. So hold on a sec. how do I do it? I'm a little. It's been a bit. It's been a bit since I did a live stream, so I'm a bit rusty. So let me just go ahead. There it is. I know what I'm doing. Let me just hold on before I do that. Okay, Nick says he'll join. Cool. Then Jason, summer queen, spring queen, fall queen, winter queen. Yep, that's me. That was me. That was totally me when I first got into Queen. Like 24/7. It's Queen, Queen, Queen. Nothing more. All right. So let me just put in the so hopefully that link will work. So again, if anybody wants to come up and join, feel free. Just make sure you're clothed. I don't want this stream to go down, or this channel to go down for that matter. I mean, I'm already I'm already on YouTube's bad list because they still won't monetize me. I'll shut up about that. All right. I was thinking of the song Dance, Dance, Dance by the Beach Boys. Yeah, that's a good song. Very good song from that period. By the way, Irish, I did a live stream with Garrett and Nick on Garrett's channel, SoundLab Studios. We ranked pretty much the whole catalog. So if you want to see that, go for it. Again, SoundLab Studios is the channel. And just search Beach Boys and you'll find it. We have Through the Lens. Hey, man. Hello. Good to see you. All right, Sins, here we are. Glad to see him here. But here's Nick.
Hello.
Hey, Nick. How's it going, man?
First appearance on your channel. Good.
Yep. First here. All right. Oh, we have somebody else joining us as well for the first time. We have Josh from Through the Lens. Hello.
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 How's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Yeah, just thought I'd come join for a bit. Been watching the channel for a while, loving the content. Love
Nice.
music as well. Vinyl in the back, CDs.
Yeah, very cool.
So,
nice. Sweet. Yeah, I think this is the first time we officially met, I think. Because I know you collaborate with Mike from Did You See That from time to time. Yeah, so I know you from that. But yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to know you're watching the channel.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, it's a great channel you got going, you know.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so before we continue the conversation, so I'm going to have our guests kind of introduce ourselves for those who aren't familiar with. So Nick, if you want to go first, if you want to introduce your channel.
Well, I'm Nicholas Yareminsky. My channel's named Nicholas Yareminsky. I didn't really come up with the channel name yet. But I do a lot of album reviews, track versus track, just like music in general. Me, Briar, and Jason joined on Garrett's channel. We do a lot of music discussion there. We do album reviews. We used to do album rankings. We don't do that much anymore, but hopefully we will get to that. Maybe we might do a Queen ranking video one day. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm down for that, of course.
Yeah, one of my favorite bands.
Yeah. All right, Josh.
So I've got a channel called Through the Lens. I do movie reviews, some film stuff, but I do want to try and do music stuff again. Talk about like vinyl. I want to talk about some of my favorite albums as well, because I kind of miss doing that. So yeah, if you like that kind of stuff, go check the channel out, I guess.
All right, cool. All right, so Josh, what type of music do you like?
I like a bit of everything, but especially where my job is a music store, so it kind of
nice.
Like we listened to loads of different stuff. We had John Mayer on today. We had a bunch like compilation albums, Black Keys, but my kind of stuff is like recent, but also kind of chill. I love someone. Have you heard of someone called Phoebe Bridgers before?
I've heard of her, but I haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah, she's my favorite artist, so I listen to her all the time. Like her album is that one, Punisher.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite albums ever. But in terms of like albums, let me check Spotify. I've got a bunch of soundtracks. I've got Ways Blood, Black Country New Road.
Yeah, Wise Blood is great.
Yeah, her newest album's really nice.
I know.
Frank
Yeah, it's really
Ocean's
good.
a nice one. I love Frank Ocean a lot. But mainly just like current stuff, but more on the chill side than a lot of the like rap stuff you get now. Even though I do like rap, I'm not the typical person of my era.
Mm, yeah. All right. So very cool. So we have one more guest joining us, and this is a special one. It's the man, the myth, the legend. We have Jason, the old millennial
Here
Hello,
he
here.
is.
Jason.
Special. I don't know about that.
All right, Jason, how you doing?
Doing all right. Just hanging out Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I know,
Doing
right?
all right.
Lazy Sunday, right? Nick?
Yeah,
Yeah.
lazy Sunday
Lazy
afternoon.
Sunday.
Well, for where I live, it's an afternoon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just for me, it's just the afternoon.
Yep. My question though, Briar, what got you into Queen? Like what was the thing that got you into them?
Like most things, it's usually by accident. So trying to remember exactly, but this was like 2015. I want to say this was just before I graduated middle school. So I there's this YouTube channel. I'm not sure how. I'm pretty sure some of us already know it, but it's this channel called Epic Rap Battles of History.
Yeah.
I used to watch them as a kid.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So they had one episode. They had one video where it was Freddie Mercury versus Frank Sinatra.
yeah. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So that was kind of like the first time I heard the name Freddie Mercury.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
That's the first time.
I know, right? And so at some point in the video, they did the whole Bohemian Rhapsody thing, and I was like, I've seen that before, but I couldn't like I saw that image before, but I didn't know where. So I Googled it and I found out what Queen were. And the first song I checked out was Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, it felt like it was a must. And the first time I heard it, I was like, it's okay.
That was my reaction too when I first heard it.
That's such a good song. I love that.
Yeah.
Song.
But second listen though, and that's when I was like, okay, now I'm starting to see it. And then of course I went down the rabbit holes. Like I was kind of curious what other songs they did, and of course I found out they did songs like "We Will Rock You," "We Are the Champions," another one by Dust. Like all these songs I've heard. Like each time I heard a new song, I was like, oh, I've heard that. Oh, I've heard that. Oh, I heard that. And so it just kept going and going. And so I was just it kind of started from there. Like I said before, but I think this was during the summer, and in that one summer, I binged the entire catalog.
That was me. The first time I actually gave a when I first heard Queen, it was like the hits and all that. My mom got me into them, but it's like sophomore year, and I got into their albums like A Night at the Opera, Sheer Heart Attack, News of the World, all those big albums, and there was just like a period of time where I was just listening to Queen, like nothing but Queen.
Yeah. All right. So, no, Nick, I'm curious. What's your favorite Queen song again?
Oh man, there are so many good Queen songs. Probably Hammer to Fall, I think.
Okay, that's a good one.
Only the live version is the one I like. The one from Live Aid.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
The production on the regular one is just kind of boring, but if like the way that it's done in the Live Aid one is just really good.
Yeah. There was years when I was just listening to the Beatles. Like I had like this big Beatle mania phase where I was just listening to the Beatles. It was like years, like from my freshman year up until like in the middle of sophomore year. I was just listening to nothing but the Beatles. It's because my father got me into them, and the albums like Sgt. Pepper, all those big albums. And one time I did a big listen from Please Please Me all the way to Let It Be, including Magical Mystery Tour. And man, very, very, like they have bad songs, but very few of them are bad, like really bad.
Nice. Before we continue, we do have one comment from a guy named Steve Ramsey saying, I like stuff like Skinnerd in the summer. So I'm assuming, Leonard Skinner's is probably good. It's a good summer band.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Good Southern rock.
Of course,
Yeah.
almost everyone goes with the Beach Boys though. Like,
Oh, Beach Boys, yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
come on.
you can't go without the Beach Boys.
Oh
They're
yeah,
just-
that's a
Yeah.
right there.
I mean, of course.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the right answer on that question.
yeah.
It's-
When I worked in as a junior, I was working in New York and as an electrician, as a helper, and they would have me go to supply houses. So I would walk there, and I would have their 2020 album. I would listen to the whole album. I would replay I Could Hear Music a lot though, but that album really, a lot of good memories of being an apprentice and all that. So that's been my favorite Beach Boy album ever since.
Hmm. Yeah. All right, so let's do this. I've got a question for everybody here. So, what was the last album you heard? So we'll go Nick first.
What do you mean, like the last album that I discovered, or just the last album I just
Just
heard?
Yeah, just the last album you heard.
Oh, Mr. Tambourine Man by the Byrds. Actually,
Okay.
we were on me and my dad were on our way back from hanging out with his friend. You know, I got my Crosby, Stills and Nash album
Mhm.
from the one guy, which very thankful of.
yeah.
And I'm like, you ever heard the Byrds before? That's like, yeah, I heard Mr. Tambourine Man and Turn. I got him into the album, Mr. Tambourine Man. He's like, wow, that's actually really, really good album.
It's a really good album.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, that's
Cool.
the last album I listened to before
Nice.
before I came on here.
All right, so Josh, what was the last album you heard?
So it was today at work. We've got 6 albums on a loop kind of thing,
Mhm.
just
Uh-huh.
random. But the one which we heard the most was Luke Combs' new one.
Country.
Yeah, it was
Hmm.
fine. I wouldn't say it was desired listening, but it wasn't awful.
Can't say I know any Luke Combs stuff. So
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You're not missing a lot. It's bland. It's bland. It's like
I hear
I've
ya.
seen bowls of porridge with more flavor. You know, it's just ugh.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of modern country is always kind of like that.
Yeah.
My dad likes about a lot of music, but like my dad could he says he could listen to about like a half hour country music before he's like turn this stuff off because it starts to like sound all the same.
Yeah. All right, Jason, what's the last album you heard?
Well, pretty easy one. Invisible Touch by Genesis.
Hey,
Oh yeah.
I've been
Good
listening
plug.
to
good segue in there. Because yeah, coming up on Garrett's channel, Sound Lab Studios, we are going to be reviewing Invisible Touch by Genesis. So it's not going to be. I know that won't be out
Well,
for
I've
a
actually
couple weeks.
got
now.
to go because I'm getting spammed. Like they want me to join a call, but I'll be back. I'll be back in
Oh.
like 20 minutes.
All right, man. All right, man. Good
People
to
I
see
know
you.
want me to join a call, but yeah, great speaking to you.
Yeah.
Briefly,
Yeah, same here.
and I'll catch you guys later.
All right, take care, man.
That's a good one.
And then there were 3.
Which is
And
the
then
name
there
of
were,
Genesis
then there were
album.
3 small faces.
Yeah.
That was the Genesis album I've ever listened to. Which is funny because it's like 13th or something. I can't remember
I
what it
know.
is.
Exactly.
like-
It was like 13th album. So it was
Right?
very late in the career.
Genesis is I've been doing research and I watched a documentary on Genesis last night on YouTube. Just trying to get into like what is Genesis, you know. It's a band I've heard of. I've heard of Genesis, but I've never listened to like their music. I have. I didn't realize it because I was listening to Invisible Touch, and there's like 3 songs. I'm like, oh, I know these 3 songs. I've listened to them on the radio. I just had no idea Genesis songs until now. Now I'm like, oh, okay, I know 3 Genesis songs right now already, and maybe there's more. I just don't realize I've been listening to them. I don't know why. There's just not a band that I hear people talk about. I don't know if it was just they're bigger in the UK than the US. I don't know if it was one of those things.
Yeah, I think for the early stuff, it was mainly the UK, but for the 80s, it was pretty much the US was pretty big.
Okay.
Because it was going off the power of Phil Collins' solo stuff.
Because I know Phil Collins solo stuff. Like, in fact, I think I guess we'll get in Wednesday, but was it In Too Deep? I think it's called.
Yeah.
to me, I was like, I thought that was just a Phil Collins solo song, and
Yeah,
like,
no.
oh,
I mean, that's the whole thing with Invisible Touch. People always say that's like a Phil Collins solo album in disguise
like,
as a Genesis.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely
yeah,
has a little. Definitely sounds like it.
that's what I thought. I was like, oh, I probably heard so many Phil Collins songs that I didn't realize were Genesis. Maybe, who knows? Because I do love Phil Collins. He's one of my favorite of the '80s period.
Yeah.
Such a great voice, great pop sound, anyways. But interesting about Genesis, like it was like they were like 8 albums in before they got like fairly famous. It felt like.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you go that far in before you're like? I mean, like I would think you do 2 or 3 and then you just quit or something. Be like, well, this is nowhere. But they did like 8 albums, and finally it's like, oh, hey, they're catching on. I'm like, holy cow! Like the Beatles, you know.
The Beatles caught on right away with Please Please Me.
Oh yeah, right away.
Yeah, their album went straight to #1. Same, even kind of with the Small Faces, their debut album, it went to #3 in the UK, and well, they never went anywhere in the US, but they started out somewhere. But like this, I'm surprised Genesis too that they weren't famous or like at the start.
Yeah, that's what shocked me. I was like, wow, like how did they survive?
Yeah, with Genesis, they were kind of more of a cult band.
Yeah,
it was more like an underground thing. Like people who were listening to that type of music really bought their albums, so that's how they kind of kept the flow. And also because their live shows were also brought in a lot of money because of Peter Gabriel and his many costumes. Yeah, many costumes. Yeah,
that crazy. Yeah, I did.
So
Gabriel, I think of. He has that famous "In Your Eyes" or something like that, right?
Yeah, "In Your Eyes." Yeah.
Yeah, that's in that movie. Say Something where he holds up. That's what Peter Gabriel is the "In Your Eyes." But I was like, wow, this guy's kind of crazy. Like,
yep, he was a wild man back then.
Definitely grew on me, that album though, Invisible Touch. When I first heard it, I'm like, this is not my kind of music, but
really
it grew on me. It definitely grew on me.
Okay.
I like when music grows on me because I get to get it. And Tonight is probably my favorite song on the album.
All right.
Yeah. Is it? Well, so yeah, so it's so interesting because if Phil Collins takes over, it feels like they definitely got bigger, I want to say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't heard all their stuff, but I know this definitely, like listening to this Invisible Touch is like definitely a really good pop album, really catchy music. And so I'm like, wow, if I don't know, but it sounds like not all their music is like that, but I'm like, if he has more stuff like that, like, I would totally be into more. Like that's my kind of music. Invisible Touch had.
I feel like you'll love the 80s stuff more than the 70s stuff.
That's what I'm wondering. If I'm more Phil Collins stuff. He came out with Face Value like around that same time, I think.
Invisible Touch was 86. So by that point, Phil had released. Where is it? Do I have it? Oh yeah. Where did I put it? He released the year before he released there we go. No Jacket Required.
Yep.
Nick read my mind.
My dad's copy of No Jacket Required.
Jacket Required. Okay.
Where did mine go? Oh, there it is.
I listened to it once. It was like years ago, and I actually quite liked it. I haven't listened to it ever since, though. You know what it bothers me though is that they like change the album covers, like him as old. I never liked that.
Yeah, it's a little.
I changed it on my Apple Music so that it actually looks like Phil Collins, like on the actual album covers.
All right.
Well, it's funny because
before we continue, before we continue, we have Mike once again. Yo, Jason. And look, he agrees with me. Absolute legend on the stream. See, he agrees with me.
Nice of you.
But anyway, as you were saying, Jason.
What's funny is like Phil Collins comes out with like a solo album right at the same time. I mean, right. I don't know if it's right in the middle, but right when he was the lead singer of Genesis, and I forget exactly why that happened. Maybe they were on a hiatus or something like that, and he just comes out. Well, I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but he had he was going through a divorce, and that kind of, I don't know what the word is,
segued, I guess,
into a really good writing period because of the divorce somehow caused him just to be sitting around writing music, and he came up with some of his best stuff, it feels like, during this period. which is, I mean, sucks. He went through the divorce, but obviously when you go through major traumatic moments, that it definitely inspires you in some ways.
Yeah.
And so it's like the next Genesis album, I think had some of that. I think basically all about his divorce or something like that. And
yes, so he released Face Value, and then not long after, the band Genesis released Duke, which contained at least one song about the divorce on it. Yeah.
But he comes out with Face Value, and Face Value does better than any Genesis album. It just kills all the Genesis albums. It's like, oh man, like he just killed it with that. And then No Jacket Required, I think, won some Grammys, so that did really well as well.
That reminds me of another story, like when Graham Nash left the Hollies, and then he ended up recording Crosby, Stills and Nash, and that album outsold like any other album that came out at the time. That's what it reminded me of.
Probably, yeah, you're right. Oh man,
like,
how do you feel if you're the rest of the band? Like, oh cow, this guy's.
I mean, he did. I watched the Hall of Fame where you like they had the nerve to make 3 hits after.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they made your favorite song after he left. So
I know that's what's crazy about it. They come up with He's So Heavy, He's Not Heavy, He's My Brother, which is an amazing song.
Yeah.
I don't know if Holly would have made it better, maybe, but it's great.
Yeah, and then they made Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress, which everyone knows now. That's like their biggest song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but anyways, I'm just real kind of interested in Genesis because I never knew anything about him, so I'm just kind of
for me Genesis was kind of like the successor to Queen. Like I was obsessed over Queen, and then I was obsessed over Genesis for a period of time.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I got to give him more chances because I listened to Foxtrot, and I liked it quite a bit. It didn't. Yeah,
you got
the one copy, and then I heard I saw the video where you got the double-sided one.
Exactly.
I'm like, man, that stinks.
I've never heard of that before.
Me neither. I had like hundreds of albums. Like, what are the odds that like one of your like few like albums has like that's just crazy.
That is. How do you know? You better know which one's which, I guess.
Yeah.
I bet. Like you really, especially when you really be careful.
I would say if I were to get a double-sided album, like one with the same side, it would be Abbey Road Side 2, I guess. You get that awesome medley twice, I guess.
I would be so stupid. I'd probably be like, this is odd. Why did they put the same songs on this? It'd probably take me a while before I'm like, wait a minute, something's wrong with this.
I know, because I played it. I was like, am I going crazy?
There'd be like 2 the ends. Like one for
that's the bold choice for the band.
Yeah.
Anyways, but
yeah, moral of the story: be careful when you shop online.
That's why I usually try to go to record stores.
Yeah,
because when you go to a record store, you could actually look at the record.
Mm-hmm. And I said it before, at the record store I go to, they have like testing stations, so you can have like little record players. You can sit down and test it before you buy it.
Sometimes I would like see like a good like album cover, but like the music inside would be kind of crappy. Good decent example was there was I forgot what it was. I think it was Deja Vu like months ago. Like I was getting into that album just recently. Well, not now, it's recently, but I was like, oh, nice album cover, Deja Vu, and I like played the first track. I think it's called Our Country. No. I forgot the name. Carry On or
Carry On. First one.
Carry On and skips, pops, and crackles, and I'm like, nope. And I teach our children, nope. Like the whole album just sounded like crap. I'm like, nope, not for me. It was like $10, and I'm like, nah. I'll find a different copy someday.
Yeah, I have Jimi Hendrix Are You Experienced? It was like one of the first records I got, and it skips during Purple Haze.
Purple Haze.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
My favorite song on that album is probably Fire.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Stand next to your fire.
Yeah, and I was kind of, I still have it. I haven't gotten a new one. I'm like, man, I have to spend money on a new one just because that one song skips a little bit. And like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
Dealing with it.
I mean, if it was like Foxy Lady or Are You Experienced or another song I really, really like from that album, I would buy a different copy. But for me, it's okay. If it was me, whatever.
Yeah.
So what was an example of a record that you wanted, but you wanted it, but you just didn't have the money for it?
Oh yeah, there was this there was a CCR album, their first album, their self-titled album. It was going for like $30 or $40, and I'm like, oh man, I want it so bad, but I can't.
Yeah, because actually it happened to me recently. It was actually the same day I got the one I showed in my recent video, because I was looking around and I found an original pressing of the Rolling Stones' Let It Bleed.
Wow.
And yeah, and I was like, oh, I really want to have it just so I can have a Stones album. But it was close to like $25, and it was either that album or the Genesis album.
Really?
Yeah, because I knew I wanted the ELO, I want the Supertramp album. So it was just between that and the Genesis, and obviously I went with the Genesis.
Supertramp, that album is actually really good. Definitely. Well, it's my second favorite album of theirs. Always in the quietest moment. I think it's the one with
That's a good one.
Give a Little Bit. That's my favorite album of theirs. I think every song on that album is like really good. I think it's probably Celebrate. I don't really know what's their popular stuff, and I know that one album, of course, Breakfast in America. I think it's called. That's I know that's a very popular album. I'm not sure about that album though, but I think it's incredible.
Yeah, it's a good album. It's definitely a good one in their catalog. Obviously, their other pretty big album in their catalog is obviously their third album, which is Crime of the Century.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Heard of that.
Yeah, it's a great one.
I would love to review their albums on Garrett's channel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was gonna. That was you, Jason. You remember when we were having those after parties and I think Garrett asked me like, what album should we do? And I was blanking hard on it. Yeah. That was the album I was thinking of.
Okay. Oh yeah. I probably left at that moment.
Maybe you left already.
Yeah. You were gone at that point.
We were thinking of albums. Yeah, and Briar was totally blanking on one. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, for me, of course, there's Village Green Preservation Society by the Kinks.
Yeah.
He said that's gonna be the next one we're gonna be doing after. Of course.
Oh, really? Man, there's so many good ones to get to. It's like
I'm just spoiled with the '60s music. I'm kind of stubborn with that. I've been getting into '70s music like Led Zeppelin. Of course, the Cars. We did that review. Of course, I knew that album for years. I love Queen, of course. They've been in my top 10 for a while now. For me, the Beatles and Queen, they're very close, very hand in hand. Like sometimes I'm in the mood for Queen a lot, sometimes in the mood for Beatles a lot. Some bands I think is like way better than the Beatles. Very, very few though, I must say. I'm matching the Beatles is really hard. The Rolling Stones, no chance. Beach Boys, no chance. Who I think is better. Small Faces, just barely. The Hollies, take or leave, like depends on my mood.
Yeah.
Queen, like I said, take or leave, depends on how I feel.
Yeah.
Those are the only like three bands that I could really like say like I could be like, like man, are these actually better than the Beatles? Like, very few.
Yeah, it's the Beatles and nobody else. I mean, they're in a whole.
or if you're a Clash fan, be like,
Clash.
They're the only band that matters.
That's true.
I definitely don't agree with that. They're definitely inferior to the Beatles, but.
And I'm sure there's like young people that are like, One Direction's better than the Beatles, and I'd be like, get here.
One person it was like reacting to the Beatles songs, and this little girl was like, Justin Bieber's better. I'm like,
yeah, I remember that video.
I think I've seen that.
Oh man, that was.
But she really liked Led Zeppelin and Queen though, so
really,
it's weird.
Well, I think of my younger sister, like the Jonas Brothers was like the Beatles to her growing up. It was like,
the Jonas
they were
Brothers.
the greatest thing ever, and I listened to them, and I'm like, they're just not on a level of the Beatles.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
no,
are
of
some
course
bands
not.
that people are like, oh yeah, they're way better than the Beatles, and I'm like,
Oh,
really?
man.
Like this one guy, this guy was a huge Doors fan. He knew all their albums that, like even the post Morrison Death albums, like
Oh,
Other
wow.
Voices and the other one. He's like diehard Doors fan, and he's like, oh yeah, he hates the Beatles actually. This guy, and I'm like, really? How can you hate the Beatles? Like he said, he owned Sgt. Pepper's. He just said he wasn't into them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the ones
I
that
guess
don't. Yeah.
I
The
guess
ones
like
that don't.
when you hear so highly of something, you just like people hype you up so much, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you actually listen to it, and then you're just like because I was listening to a podcast or video, as it should be the name of the channel. That's where I got the track versus track thing from, and
Yeah.
we were talking about best albums of 1966, and there was like three people. One person said the Who, a quick one was their favorite. Two other people were like Revolver, of course, and there were a bunch of people like the other like bunch of them were put Pet Sounds at like 5 and 4. It's like out of 10, like top 10, and I'm like, and they were like, yeah, when I first heard this album, got so hyped, and it's like wasn't that good, but once I heard it a few times, it actually got to me, and yeah.
Yeah. I guess it also depends on your upbringing. If you haven't heard much of the Beatles
Yeah.
growing up, it's probably going to play a role.
I mean, I grew up with the Beatles, so
yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah. I think I think we all have.
Yeah.
Three of us
A
have.
lot of us have. Yeah.
and then another band that I kind of grew up with was CCR.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah, like my dad had one of their greatest hits CDs, and Proud Mary, Fortunate Son. Like I grew up with those songs too. I didn't grow up with any of their albums like the Beatles, but
Yeah.
I guess it kind of segued into my CCR journey. Because sometimes YouTube likes to recommend me music, and sometimes I just don't get into the music that they recommend me. Like, but one time it was like Creedence Clearwater Revival greatest hits, and I forgot about the name and all that, and I was listening to all the songs, and I'm like, I know all these songs, and I bought I don't have it down here in the basement, but I bought 20 greatest hits. You probably would recognize the album cover if you see it, but I knew all the songs, and it's just like, wow, like so many hits.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, it's funny. Growing up, I mean, yeah. I guess, you had to buy the albums, and I didn't have a lot of albums except for like Beatle albums on cassette. Like this back in the cassette days, like I had Beatles on cassette and stuff like that. And then I went to CDs, and I got like Oasis and Creed and Matchbox 20 were like the bands I was into at the moment in the 90s. And then when iTunes came out, I guess in the early 2000s, I want to say, I stopped buying albums altogether and just went on iTunes and bought the songs and then burned them on CDs. So all I listened to were burned CDs. Like I just burned a bunch of them. Like I loved just buying songs and just making greatest hits albums out of like what I knew.
That was me for a period of time.
So I knew nothing about like a lot of the old albums. It's like only in the last couple of years, people are like talking about albums, and I was like, huh, I never really, thought about listening to the album. All I thought about was listening to their big songs, and it's been such a fun journey, like the last couple of years of actually going through a discography of a band I didn't know much about. Like even Queen, I know Queen, but I've never gone through their albums, and now I feel like I know a lot more about Queen. Same thing with CCR and Genesis. I'm just now getting to that. Steely Dan I've been going through right now. I never really knew anything about Steely Dan until recently. Cars, I knew nothing about Cars until recently. Anyway, so I'm just saying, man, it's been such a fun journey just like actually going through albums. And now it's given me more of a passion for albums than I used to never have a passion for albums. It was just the songs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I was kind of the similar thing. Because once I got like an Amazon Music account, like I thought that was all I needed. But again, because obviously in this day and age, streaming is the way is becoming more prominent.
Easy way to do it.
And so not many people are growing up with physical media.
Right.
But growing up, I had physical media, so I still had that attachment, and I guess that little that little love for physical media was still in me. So I decided yeah, I should probably have something. So obviously that's where the CDs came into play.
Yeah, and then you switch the music showcase.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah,
thanks, Garrett.
Thanks to the music, I guess.
Yeah, we at one point I joke around. I'm like, soon enough it's gonna be Briar's vinyl showcase.
Yeah, it should be vinyl showcase.
Like vinyl showcase, including CDs. Very once in a while, you know. But yeah. When I first started doing vinyl, well, I've always had a fascination over vinyl. My dad had like a couple, has like
Okay.
like a small bit of vinyls.
Yeah.
He has this album, like I showed. He has Glass Houses. He owns one Elton John album. He owned a Rolling Stones album, 12 by 5, which he gave it to me because he's not that into the Stones. Like he wasn't that interested in that album. It doesn't have any of the hits on it. And once my dad bought like an actual, because my dad had a Crosley at one point, and those are kind of crappy. But we actually got a real turntable, and I'll show it off since I'm here. Oh, yep, right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
This turntable, and and then I got money the one time, and I'm like, I should buy an album, and I was just getting into the Mamas and Papas first album, If You Could Believe Your Eyes and Ears, their most popular album, and I bought it. That was one of my first album. That's my first ever album I ever bought. I played it, loved it. Then I bought like a few albums that day when I ordered If You Believe Your Eyes and Ears, Wednesday Morning 3 a.m.,
Okay.
or Self-Titled, and Rolling Stones, Hot Rocks. It's like a greatest hits from 64 to 71.
Oh.
And then my fifth album I ever bought was actually have it down here, Beatles Magical Mystery Tour.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, I liked how he went through one direction, then the album came out the other.
What's that?
Because you exited to your right, but then the album came from
back
the.
in.
Yeah, sorry about that. But,
no,
yeah.
no, that was funny. I like that.
You went around.
I'll say this isn't like an album review where you have to like chop down and stuff. It's like a stream, but yeah. Magical Mystery Tour. It even has the booklet inside.
Oh yeah, I got that booklet thing. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh.
All the pictures in it. Cool.
Yep. This is like a reissue. It was on Apple label. An actual original pressing would have that Rainbow Capital label because it was like one of their US albums.
So when did you start your collection?
Freshman year of high school.
Okay.
I started with those 5 albums. Then I bought every Beatle album, like Please Please Me, Help, and all that stuff.
And you got like 500 or something like that?
Probably over than that. I forgot how much, but
Yeah.
Then I started doing Led Zeppelin, then I did Pink Floyd. I just did like band discographies, like.
Okay.
Then I got to a point where I was like, why am I doing that? Like some albums I'm not as crazy about. So I just started buying like individual records. And then I'm like, this is a great album. That's a great album. And I started going to the record store, and I just got to a point where I was just buying any record that I might like. That's from I bought like a Carpenter's album, Song for You. I think that's the name of it. I bought the Supertramp album. I played it like once or twice. That was about it.
Yeah. When did you start your CD collecting, Briar?
I think it was a couple of years later. I know it was around the same time David Bowie passed away because I bought it. It was around that time I bought his. Yeah, so I bought his last album, Black Star, and I think I got like a couple things around that time. I know the Guns N' Roses greatest hits. I got Who's Next by The Who.
Oh, really?
Because this was back when I was still buying from Walmart. And yeah, so I think there's another one. Oh, Master of Puppets by Metallica.
Master Puppet.
Yeah, Master of Puppets.
Oh wow!
And that was my first time hearing a
Heavy
metal album, a real metal album.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was quite an introduction.
Yeah, I bought Who's Next and All Things Must Pass at the same time on vinyl. Like I both ordered them on Amazon. Yeah, my first two Who albums was Who's Next and Who Are You.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I didn't even know the title track at first. I just thought it was a cool album cover with the Keith Moon on the sea with the Not to Be Taken Away. Oh, this seems like a good album. Has the same amount of tracks as Who's Next. And I'm like, this might be just as good as it. I listened to it. I wasn't as crazy about it, but it grew on me over time.
Yeah. Hold on a sec. I gotta fix that Queen album because it fell earlier and it's driving me crazy now.
She's a heart attack.
I have a question, kind of, because you guys seem to know more than I do. So there's this issue with listening to, and I'm thinking it must be British music is the problem, where they're coming out with two different versions of albums. That's just a thing from Britain, right? Because America,
that was just a '60s British thing, because the U.S. market wanted to like appeal to the American masses. So yeah, I was actually thinking about starting a series of like understanding the U.S. albums and probably doing the Beatles, because the Beatles could be confusing. Rolling Stones is really, really confusing.
Yeah, the Hollies is confusing.
The Hollies, yeah. Well, here's the thing though, is that the Hollies, their first album was chopped up, made it Here I Go Again. Their second album was never released. There was never an In the Hollies style, which to me, I think it's criminal because I think it was the best out of the first four. Then there was the third album, which became Here, which to me is much improved because it has those big hits on it. I'm Alive and Look Through Any Window. Then there's another, and then their fourth album, Would You Believe, they chopped it up and made it Beat Group. And then there was a fifth album that was just called Bus Stop. That was just like a collage of like singles, songs that were from like UK albums that was never released yet, and that was called Bus Stop. Actually, I'm gonna look up that album cover because it was my first Hollies album I ever listened to. Album.
Yeah, so albums from America didn't have that problem at all. Like Beach Boys is just one album for each.
Yeah,
like
it makes sense if they're American.
So they didn't have to worry about putting some out to Britain. I guess it's only a British thing. If they're in Britain, they have to put out a different thing for America. So
yeah, that was my first Hollies album I ever listened to because I started listening to their hits, and it was a good way to put it. It's like their yesterday and today. That's a good way of putting it. Then they made an album called Stop, Stop, Stop. It's basically if you ever heard of For Storm, because you basically heard Stop, 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 Holly's album cover, basically right here. Which is bigger right there, and then they chopped up Evolution. It was just Evolution, and to me, it's like a lower quality. My spelling is crappy. Evolution. There's the UK album cover right here, and then it was the US version with Carrie Ann like slapped on it, like, "Hey, here's Carrie Ann," and they chopped it down, and then there was Dear Eloise album cover right here, which is basically the US version of Butterfly, which they took out like a few songs and put in King Midas in reverse, and they made the Bob Dylan album is just the Bob Dylan album, but with a different album cover. He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother album. But here's the album cover to that. I've never been a big fan of the album cover.
no.
It's Holly Sing Hollies, but like they took out 2 tracks and they put He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother on it.
Yeah.
Which it was great. I like the one of the songs they got rid of was good, but then there was another song I'm like, why did they get rid of that one? And then there was another album called Moving Fingers, which was a U.S. version of Confessions of the Mind. Moving Fingers. Garrett jokes about it being like this is the UK one with the Confessions of the Mind, but Garrett joked about it being like the Stones and the Rush with moving pictures and sticky fingers, and combine the two, Moving Fingers. And that was about it. That was their last like US album.
Yeah. So when did they start? Is there a point where they started just making one album for both markets?
They didn't do that until Distant Light, which that was and then that was the first album. That was like 1971.
Okay.
The Beatles, they stopped at 67.
I said Beatles stopped at 67, yeah, and just did.
They kept going on with the Hollies. At first they had Imperial Records, and then they switched over to Epic. And I guess the Hollies didn't care whether their music was chopped up or not. So
because Led Zeppelin didn't have that problem. Aren't there all their albums just the same? Or
they started out really late in the 60s.
Okay,
so
they started.
They were on Atlantic, so that was never a problem for them.
That was never a problem. Who was that ever a problem for the Who?
Just for the first two albums, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Queen later, I guess.
Yeah, Queen was like 73, so yeah, didn't have that issue.
Yeah.
That was So it's
once
just
you got into the 70s, that was.
Yeah, so it's just a 60s period. There's this confusing period. It
Yep.
just messes me up when I'm trying to figure out albums.
I know, right? It's annoying.
It's annoying, yeah. It's very annoying.
Yeah.
Like, why did they do that? So stupid. Like, I want to say, just put out the same stupid record for both.
Yeah. I mean, some for the Hollies, it some of them was for good effect. Like the first album was really bad, so it was good that they put the hit singles on the first album. The third album, the songs that they chose to get rid of, to me, I didn't like. Like they got rid of Mickey's Monkey on the third album.
Yeah,
I like that cover though. Like there was a song called Fortune Teller. I'm not crazy about that, and another song called Down the Line. Those would have been two perfect songs to get the axe. But
did the Kinks have that problem?
What's that?
Did the Kinks have that problem?
Oh yeah, they actually did. They had
I had a feeling.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Kinks. You really got me. Really got me. Album cover.
I know Garrett, he wrote me down like 15 albums from the Rolling Stones. It was all the US. I think he said just listen to these 15 US albums from the Rolling Stones, and that's a pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I go with. I go with the US. Just
that makes it a little bit easier. I can go, okay, I'll just take the US version.
Yeah.
I guess I'll share off the Kinks one, but the first album, it's basically the first album is that, but like
boy, they didn't put much into it.
Yeah, it's just like first album, except they put Kinks and You Really Got Me, and they instead of like improving it and putting more singles like All Day and All the Night, they just put in they just got rid of 3 songs, and I didn't like that at all. They had another album called switch it over because Really Got Me. Kind of Kinks was the same thing. Like they they made the album cover different. They actually put a song called Set Me Free. Kind of Kinks, they kept the same. It was only their first 2 albums, really, but there was like 2 other albums, like kind of like Yesterday and Today, where it was just like their hit singles, but like with some of their UK album tracks that was never on there.
Yeah. You got other versions?
What are others? I'm trying to think. The Animals did the same.
The Animals, yeah.
The Animals suffered that. Their US albums are better. I gotta think. Go look through my music. Yes, I have all my music on here. Of course, the Beatles.
I try to look up like Meet the Beatles or something like that. It seems like it's always for like a lot of money or something. So I'm like, forget it.
It's funny because I see that album all the time at my record store.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, I think I need to go to the record.
When I go to my record store, it's mainly just the US albums.
Okay, I need to go to the record store and like look up Beatles and see if they have the U.S. versions. I kind of like be interested in those.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, those be like good collectibles.
just for collecting them for fun.
Yeah, my British Invasion collection. I'm getting all the UK albums plus the US albums because
Really?
I was just gonna do the UK albums, but then there's just like some bands that like have a lot of US albums, but like very few UK albums. There's a group called Peter Gordon. I got
Yeah.
2 of the records recently. They only have 5 UK albums, but they have like 8 or 9 US albums, and
Oh, really?
their US albums have so much great
Gee.
US hits like Lady Godiva, Night in Rusty Armor. Just a lot of great music, and I'm like, wow, like why wasn't any of these songs like UK albums, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, they were to me they were mostly a US oriented band. Like they had like 5 like UK albums and then like 8 or 9 US albums.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I think that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
And Peter Escher, he's on the Beatles channel. I think it's kind of cool that he was on there. He talks very highly of the Beatles, of course, because
Yeah.
well, not that, but he gave them 2 of their biggest hits. I Don't Want to See You Again, and of course, World Without Love.
World Without Love is so good. Yeah.
That would have been perfect as a Beatles song.
I know.
There was a demo of Paul McCartney doing it. I'm like,
Is there?
oh my god, this would have been so good.
Oh, that'd been great.
Mm.
Oh, I mean, I think that would have been great. I think Here It Is, Come and Get It, whatever. That song would have been a great Beatles song that they gave them back.
Yeah.
Hello, Little Girl.
Badfinger, yeah.
Hello, Little Girl by The Foremost.
Okay.
That's another song that was given. Well, if you never listened to it, you should check it out. It's a great song. They were both Liverpool bands, Foremost and the Beatles, and John Lennon was the one who wrote it this time, and he was just kind of tired of it, so he was just like, you guys can have it, and then that became like a big single for them.
Okay. Yeah.
It's funny how like some of their like throwaway songs just become like other artists like big hits.
Yeah.
That's just how powerful they were. Same with the
Exactly.
Small Faces. They were doing the same thing. Like Steve Marriott and Ronnie Lane would like write songs, and they'd be like, forget about it, and then they would like give it to another artist and become like a big number 1 hit for them. I forgot Go Now was I think Go Now was a Lennon McCartney. I forgot. Let me look it up. Go Now. Gotta look it up.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I only have like 4 Woody Blues albums, so I don't know that song.
I don't. Well, that's on their first album.
Okay, that explains it.
The Magnificent Moody Blues. It's very different from their other.
Yeah,
tracks.
that's what I heard. I heard it's more like your typical 60s like music at the time.
Yeah. It's weird how much different their first album is from their second album.
Yeah.
I mean, the name is called the Moody Blues, so you could actually hear the Moody Blues on their first album. Their other albums have nothing to do with that name. They just kind of stuck with the name, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good name.
Yeah, it's not a bad name.
It's crazy. I got so much Moody Blues albums and from the record store, and all of them were cheap. So I'm like, hey, more to my British Invasion collection, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Moody Blues album, Nick?
Probably either their third or second album right now.
Okay.
As of right now, I'm not that crazy about the first album. It's definitely an album you should check out just once. That's how that album and
It's like a curiosity, basically.
yeah, that and Stay with the Hollies by the Hollies. Like those 2 albums are like curious albums. Same with the Zombies first album. That's another album where it's just like listen to once, get the good songs out, and yeah. Some bands start out amazing, and then some bands just are like, ugh.
Yeah.
The Moody Blues and the Zombies were the best example of that. Like they both started off with such mediocre albums, and then they came up with an amazing sophomore album.
Nice.
Of course, whoever's watching right now, check out Garrett's review on that from Sound Lab Studio. We were all 3 of us plus him review Odyssey and Oracle.
Exactly.
That was a good one.
make sure you check that out.
Yes, definitely.
All right, it's okay. We're about an hour in now. This is kind of nice. We have 6 viewers watching. Again, thank you so much for those watching. So let's quickly do a little intermission. We'll see if we can talk a little bit more, but let's go ahead. Let's reintroduce our guest here. So Nick, let's go reintroduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Nicholas. I love doing album reviews and stuff. I'm a big music collector. I'll show off an album my own into that 60s albums. I love reviewing and stuff like that. Like I just said, I mostly go on Garrett from Sound Lab Studio. I review his album. I review albums with him, with our two, me, and of course the channel host Briar, and of course Jason.
All
the
right,
myth, the legend.
Yeah. There you go. That's gonna be your nickname now, Jason.
I don't know.
All right, and Jason, let's go ahead and introduce your channel because I don't think you introduced it.
Well, my channel's called Jason the Old Millennial. Because I am a millennial, but I'm almost 40, so I'm kind of old now. I am in that millennial group. I talk about movies and music, cover both on my channel. Movies, I try to cover somewhat what's coming out, mostly what I watch on streaming. I give reviews on what I've been watching lately, and do a lot of rankings and lists. I love doing rankings. That's like my favorite thing to do. I love collaborating with other people and talking about movies, and also cover music. Mostly the 60s and 70s period is like my definitely era of music that I really like listening to. I'm like slowly getting to like the 80s, and I know the 90s because I grew up in the 90s, so I kind of have some knowledge of the 90s. I think about 2010, I kind of almost quit listening to music. I listened to very little after that, but 60s, 70s, I absolutely love that period of music and talking about it. And again, doing a lot of rankings, doing album rankings, song rankings on the Beatles. Huge Beatles fan, so I do a lot of that. Collaborate a lot with Briar, Garrett, Nick, Adam from Did You See That? We talk a lot about music, and now Jacob Martin, we're starting to talk music with him as well. So that's really.
Stay tuned for that Aerosmith live stream on Jacob Martin.
Oh yeah, also me and Jason and whoever else might want to join. We're doing a Small Faces debut album review sometime in the future. Like I said, Jason, whenever you're ready, I'll be more than happy to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Very cool. Of course, subscribe to these two gentlemen of course. Once the stream's over, I'll put links to their channels in the description, and Josh too. Don't forget about Josh. He was here. Yeah, so I'll put links to his channel as well. All right, let's even go a little bit longer. Let's even go for about another 20 minutes or so. So it'll be an hour and a half. I'm kind of particular that way.
Yeah, I know you are.
I know. I'll have to. When I was solo, I would just ramble until I can run out the clock.
Right. Yeah, I know. You're like, let's see if I can talk another 3 minutes. Just finish it.
So, how's the weather, guys?
Yeah, no, that's like a perfect example of my improv skills. That's my improv skills there. That's why I didn't do improv that much. Anyhow, we have one comment from Irish Flink. Haha, old. I am much older.
Yeah.
He said the old millennial. He didn't say just Jason.
Yeah.
The old guy.
If you compare me to other millennials, I'm old. That's the only.
Yeah.
Of course, just easy.
I'm like right at the cutoff date to make it.
Yeah.
old.
So technically, you are the old millennial, not like if it was Jason the old guy, then yeah.
The old guy, yeah. The old guy.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to another video from Jason the old guy. Maybe if you're making videos in your 70s, baby. Like, hey guys, welcome back to another great video from Jason the old guy, formerly known as Jason the old millennial.
Yeah.
Are you in the millennial, Nick? Or are you?
No, I'm Gen Z.
You're Gen Z. So you're both Gen Z.
I don't know when that started. I'm
Yeah.
probably the young Gen Z guy. I don't know.
How old are you, Nick?
Gen Z. 19.
19. Okay.
Oh, okay, so yeah, you're definitely Gen Z. I was like, I couldn't remember where you were in that. Yeah.
Age between 8 and 23. So maybe I could consider an old Gen Z guy.
I'm 23, man, so I'm older than you.
Hey, oh yeah, maybe
Yeah.
the Nicholas, the middle-aged Gen Z.
Middle-aged Gen Z.
That's a good one.
and then Briar would be like,
I'm the old Gen Z.
Briar's old Gen Z music collection.
Yeah, it's
And
funny.
yeah,
My sister,
Irish
she
was,
took, she's
yeah, Irish is 63. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're in that baby boom probably generation, I'm
Oh,
guessing.
almost 64. When I'm 64.
I know. When I'm 60, I can't wait till I'm 64. Then
I know. That'll be the first song you hear. That'll
I'll
be the alarm clock.
I mean, who knows? Maybe when I'm 64, like China will own us, and I'll be speaking Chinese. Who knows? I'm sure there's some kind of social media around I can talk on.
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows?
By the way, Nick, I was meaning to ask you because I think earlier when I was talking about my new cat, you said you had a new cat as well.
New. Well, I was trying to say the story. Like yeah, I guess I missed out on a good story too. Like because
yeah.
Because I came back from the road trip and we were listening to music, so I didn't have time to like join the chat party or whatever. But well, I got a cat like a few months ago.
Okay.
Lily named it after two songs, Pictures of Lily and Lily of the Valley.
Yeah.
That's a good name. You know what breed? You know what breed it is? Is she?
I don't know, honestly. I wish I knew. I do own a calico. I own a Maine Coon. Like you've seen my calico before in some of my videos, my unboxing videos. She likes to interrupt a lot.
Yeah.
Like every time
I know. That's why I close my door.
Well, I usually do in the kitchen because there's like a light and there's like a good place to like put my phone on top so I can like have like a top down view. But yeah, every time I start recording, my cat's like, "Hey, how about I join?"
Yep.
How about I steal everyone's attention? Sometimes I'm like, "Oh, that's a good that's good that she's joining." Like have a little cat like whoever's a cat person who joins my channel.
Yeah,
be like,
because
oh,
my mom always is begging me to have my cats in my videos. And she's like, "Oh, you're gonna get more views. You have cats in your videos." And I'm like, "Okay." You know, I have equipment, and I'm scared they're gonna knock something over.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd be scared of.
Yeah.
One of my albums,
and they also like to climb on my desks too, and that's where my collection is. And there's actually been occasions where they climbed up and they knocked the CD down. So yeah, I'm very apprehensive when they come in.
Yeah, well, we were doing the album of the year, and it was like two weeks in a row where my cat was in heat, my calico, and I had to pick her up because I'm like, because I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna show her off in Garrett's channel, I guess. And
I remember that.
Like, yeah, I had my mic. Yeah, I'm like, quiet down, you know. But yeah, I don't know if you were watching. No, it was probably like the replay. I think when you said that.
Yeah, I think it was a replay. I think yeah.
Yeah, because we would start. Well, the time for me starting wasn't that early, but for you it would be very early.
Probably, yeah.
I think it was like 9 or 10 o'clock. We would have our streams. My time.
You have a pet, right, Jason?
I have 2 dogs.
You have 2 dogs. Okay. You know what breeds they are?
Mixed collie and mixed boxer.
Okay.
But they're both black and white, so they look like brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
They're not related, but they look fairly similar. Pretty 100-pound dogs, I would say. But yeah.
All right, that's pretty cool. We have another by Irish. About latest album of mine is Young Side of Paradise by Black Star Writers.
Paradise Black Star. Oh, wrong side.
Interesting. Yeah, I never heard of them. Yeah, let us know what genre that is. Because it sounds like maybe a southern rock type of band. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah,
But anyhow.
my recent vinyls were the ones I recorded just recently. Yeah, but yeah, yeah, of course I have my two Peter and Gordon albums, which one of them has that huge single on it. Then there's the Honeycombs, which they're a good band. They have that big hit, "Have I the Right." Anyone hear that song before? It's like one of those songs that was like, there's like a lot of music that was like big back in the day, and then kind of like went. It's like now obscure, but like back then it was huge. Have I the Right's like a good example of that, like that, and probably Ichigo Park by the Small Faces. Like they were big back in its day, but like now it's just obscure.
Interesting. And Irish got back to us. It's hard rock. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it sounded like a hard rock type.
Yeah, maybe a hard rock, something like that.
We put black in there. I always think hard rock or something.
That's a good assessment. All right, Kate. 10 more minutes before we close out. So, I know, right?
I mean,
it's maddening, I swear.
So do you close out and then you like start a new one up, or do you just close out? Like you just do like an hour and a half stream and that's it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Probably gonna take a nap after this.
Gotcha.
I don't blame you. Yeah, it's kind of a good nap day.
Yeah. Of course, I have to clean up first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of tripods or something. I'm like, what's going on?
I know, just so the background's a little interesting, because otherwise it's just my bed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your bed. Okay.
You should own Purple Rain by Prince. That's a
yeah. I definitely want to get that. I have it on CD.
I was just listening to the album just a few days ago, and my favorite songs are "Darling Nikki" and that the track that comes after it. I wish I could get the name of it.
Oh yeah. I can pull
Those
it.
are
It's not far.
Purple Rain, Purple Rain.
Yeah, it's when Doves Cry.
Yep, those are my two favorite songs on the album.
Yeah, those are big ones.
Yeah,
then there's Let's Go Crazy, of course, which that song's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's a great opening track.
Dearly beloved.
Yeah, probably still my favorite Prince album. I only have 3, so.
Yeah, do you own 1999?
Yeah, I do. I have 1999 as well.
I gotta check that album out. That's the only.
I mean, I feel like I have to get 1999. That's the year I was born.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which ironically, the album came out in 84, I think. Yeah. No, 82, I think.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, there's no 1983 song, I don't think, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, not that I know of.
There's a 1984 album out there. I know that, but
yeah.
Mostly the amount of music Prince recorded, like before he died, like there could be like in a vault, like people could like if they would release.
He was very prolific.
Like they would have been able to. They would be able to make like an album each year and stuff, like a ton of music for like years and years. That's how much music he recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, take a look at how much music Jimi Hendrix recorded. Like they were able to record so much albums with him. I only own the Hendrix Experience albums though. I don't own any of the solo like posthumous albums or whatever.
I want to get that one.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to have.
Yeah, I was looking through the record collection though, and he had Sgt. Pepper, Abbey Road, Let It Be. He had McCartney's first album, which to me is very underrated.
Yeah.
He owned Paul Simon's second album, the self-titled album. I thought that was pretty cool. Apparently, he told me he had like a bigger collection in his basement with like Queen albums and stuff, and I'm like, oh wow. But we never had time to look at it. But next time I ever do go back there and he does show me his Queen collection, I'll make sure to share it on the group chat.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's my mission, trying to get Queen on vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're lucky to have Sheer Heart Attack as an original. That's probably one of my favorite Queen albums.
Yeah.
Top 3 at least.
Very lucky. I mean, I think they still have Flash. Last time I was at the record store, they still had Flash Gordon. I don't know. Maybe I'll get that just for the heck of it.
I'm a completionist,
Right.
but maybe. I almost hate it. I almost hate it as much as Mardi Gras.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how bad it is.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I didn't even listen to that album when I was doing
Yeah,
Queen.
I don't blame you.
You
It's not.
know what's crazy though is, you know what album? Well, I always thought Mardi Gras was worse than Summer in Paradise, and I always thought Mardi Gras was like the ultimate worst album from a horrible album from a great band. But I'm starting to think American Dream by
I know. It's like,
National Young is starting to top that.
yeah.
Every time I listen to that album, it gets worse and worse for me to listen.
Yeah.
So after like, I said this once and I will say it again. Like that album doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They recorded Deja Vu and that's it. That's their one and only.
Yeah.
There's no American Dream. There's no reunion album that never existed. That doesn't exist. And looking for that their third and final album that also doesn't exist. Though not as bad as American Dream, but still that doesn't exist.
Yeah, to me, Summer in Paradise is still number one.
I still need to listen to that, I guess, just to see.
Don't.
Just
don't. Save yourself, Jason.
I think you showed me a CD copy already, Brian. American Dream. I feel like you've shown me a CD copy.
Oh yeah, he has all the bad albums.
Yep. You own Mardi Gras. You own Summer in Paradise. You own that album.
And it's still broken.
Yeah, never fix it. That album
never fix it.
If it wasn't for me, I would buy it and just destroy it. Just like take like all the copies, make like a big bonfire out of it.
It don't exist.
like never existed.
All right.
Not having. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we're about 4 minutes before we close out here. So close out. So let's have our guests here talk about what's coming up on your guys' channels. So Nick, what's going on? What's coming up on your channel?
The most to me the best thing that's going to come up recently is my Small Faces review. Of course, you can join it. I already got Jason to review it with me. I'm not sure about Garrett yet, but we'll probably try to have him come with me. But yeah, that'd be a fun review on my channel. Have like a nice live stream of me reviewing it.
All right. And Jason, what's coming up for you?
Mm-hmm. I don't have anything planned right now. Kind of busy this week. I have a wedding this next weekend.
Oh, okay.
In Oklahoma, so I'll be gone next weekend.
I might do a track versus track video sometime with Deja Vu and the first album because they're both 10 tracks long. That'd be a fun track versus track.
Yeah,
a lot of great songs from each album. So who knows?
But yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've been wanting to do the Simon Garfunkel deep dive. Every night I'm thinking I should do it, and then I'm like I'm too tired, and then I don't.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I feel that.
Who knows? Maybe I'll do it after the stream. I might do that. Yeah, and I'm still doing the Beatles. I'm like at 32, I think, or something. I think I have 32 more songs in my Beatles rankings or something like that.
Yeah,
so I'm getting down on that. I'm ready for number 24 or so on my album, I think.
Surprised Taxman wasn't higher on your list.
What's that? Taxman?
Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't higher.
Yeah, I like that song a lot. Man, so many good songs. It's
yeah,
hard.
That's just proof how great they are.
Yeah.
Taxman's
underrated. I feel like people don't rate it as high as I do. I feel like, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's like a top 20 song for me. My dad loves it too. He said it was his favorite song from Revolver.
Okay. Yeah, it's an amazing George Harrison song too. I mean, that's a really good George Harrison song.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's some things I want to do a live stream at some point of like what I've been watching since the month's about over. I usually try to do a watch what I've been watching live stream for that month. So I don't know when I'll get to that. Maybe tomorrow for Memorial Day. I'll be like Memorial Day live stream.
Oh yeah, that's right. I totally forgot Memorial Day's tomorrow.
Yeah. I was like, maybe I'll try to do a live stream before I go to work. We'll see.
That's weird that you're working on Monday.
Yeah, I'm working on Monday because I'm in healthcare. So
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah,
We
that's
work-
important.
we work everything.
Yeah,
There's
that's an important holiday. I mean, that's an important job.
Yeah. What I want to do, I've talked about this a little bit, is I got this idea. It's like of like I want to like come up with I call it the essential albums list of like what albums should everybody listen to. That list is what I was thinking of. And at first I was like thinking of like coming up with like a top 100. What are 100 albums everybody should listen to? But then as I was listing off albums, I was like, man, there's more than 100 albums on my list. So
Yep.
so then I expanded to 200. Like it's kind of I think where I got the idea. And then my idea was like to do 50 albums, kind of per decade, starting with the 60s. Do like what are the 50? Because I thought if I'm doing like the essential albums, I should try to hit each decade to give somebody like a very variety of like music throughout the years, kind of give them almost a history lesson of like great music, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so my idea was like to do like 50 albums in the 60s, 50 albums in the 70s, 50 albums in the 80s, and 50 albums from the 90s on to today. So giving it a little more period, because I know the 90s I'm gonna have a harder time coming up with
I know.
So are we like you said you wanted all four of us to like the four of us to do it, and so we're
Yeah.
taking a turn like each album each like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like do it up until 50.
Yeah. So like my idea is like almost like a draft process kind of thing. I don't know where like we do 50 albums in the 60s, and it'd go, Garrett would say, I'm going to put down Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. So they'll go, okay, that's the first album. And then Briar will say Pet Sounds or something like that. And we'll go, okay, Pet Sounds. And then Nick will say the Hollies or something. I don't know. And
yeah, whatever.
And we'll just each kind of like basically, put an album down.
It'd be nice if we had 5 people because it'd be like 10 albums per person.
Right.
That kind of thing. But yeah, whatever works. Probably, whatever. Hopefully it's a weekend day or somewhere where I'm available, because it's a fun idea, especially the 60s, because
okay,
so many albums from the 60s.
Yeah, I know. The 60s will be next year.
Yep, my decade, more like it.
Okay,
I know so many albums from that decade. I'm gonna probably try to be commercial about it, because it's like the way you described it, like you haven't listened to an album before, try to ease your way into it, not like I'm not gonna go like, your first album should be Ogden's Nut Gun Flake. It'd be like,
right, yeah, exactly.
That's just going hardcore on a first album. Exactly. Like, I'll probably be like down my list if no one else mentions it already, but I'll probably go like from like my most commercial like downward, so that like you could like ease into it. Not like my first album pick is gonna be Ogden's Nut Gun Flake, and then like my second one would be a quick one by The Who. Just be like, those will be albums I choose if it's not picked, but it's not gonna be like my first ones.
Right. Oh, something fell.
I don't know why. It was leaning as far back as I could, but still fell over.
Oof.
But,
all right.
I like my idea is like try to I've made my list already, kind of 50 albums. But I need to prioritize the album list, because because you guys would pick you'll pick an album on my list so I can cross it off, and then I have to go to like the next on my list, and most likely I won't have all 50 albums, of course, but I just have them just in case. Of albums, so
I'll probably do like 60 or 70 that I could think of, and then like 70s. Cross out anyone. I'm not going to do Pet Sounds. I'm not going to do Sgt. Pepper's, because I already know those 2 albums that we picked.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know who's going to pick probably what. So I'm like, because I'm like, I know Nick knows more about the Hollies, so he'll pick a good Hollies one.
Yeah.
And I can rely on him to pick a good one out of that, or the Who, or something. I don't know. When I get to the 80s, I know like I'm going to rely on Briar to pick.
Yeah, probably me.
Because he knows more than I do. So I'm like, okay, I'll let him pick. I can only pick the ones I know pretty well on.
Mm-hmm.
But then I have like, let's say I have like, I put down like, Back in Black by AC/DC. Now I'm not an AC/DC fan. I don't care about that album, but I would still put it on the list because I think it's a important album.
It's a monster album. Yeah, one of the best songs ever.
Well, that's why I first thought with like if you would have told me like weeks and weeks ago like do it, I would pick Crosby, Stills and Nash first album, but I wasn't crazy about the album at first. It grew on me significantly, but that would have been a pick for me for sure because how can you not pick an album that has Helplessly Hoping and Sweet Judy Blue Eyes on it, So
Right. But yeah, so my idea is like of course when it comes to 60s, it's going to be impossible for me not to pick a bunch of Beatles albums. So I'm like, I'm looking at the Beatles list and I'm thinking, okay, which ones do I pick and which ones do I leave out? And that's
I'll probably pick like some of their I don't think the Beatles had any obscure albums. I'll probably like pick like albums like Help or like A Hard Day's Night because I already know. White Album, Abbey Road, like those huge albums will be.
Yeah, Abbey Road is going to get picked, and Sgt. Pepper is going to be picked for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pick albums that I think won't get picked, like that I think are essential. Of course, there's those four 60s Creedence Clearwater Revival albums. Of course, you can't go without noticing those albums.
Yeah, and like when you think of a decade, like the 60s, let's say. The problem with 60s is like I don't listen to before 1964 really. Like I'm not, or 63 maybe. I don't really know. I don't think albums got really good until around 64 maybe. So
I'd say
yeah.
That's when we started our album of the year was 65. That was like when albums start. That's when bands start really taking notice of 60s albums. Like that's when Mr. Tambourine Man came out. That's when Rubber Soul came out. That's when Today came out. That's when so many great albums came out.
Yeah.
That was like the first, like I call it the golden age from like 65 to 70. To me, that was that was when music was the best to me. Like it was at its peak.
Yeah, that's when it really started blowing up for me. I feel like early 60s is like there's a lot of Motown. I'm not as into Motown, and I don't know if they came out with big like I even tried to look up Motown and I couldn't find like a really big album. Like I feel like they didn't have
Motown was more of a singles thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's hard to find like a good album until you get to around.
I have a good album for you to listen to. Temptations, Sing Smokey. That's the one. That album has My Girl, but I think the whole album is really good front to back. But it's like Brian said perfectly. There was like these bands were 60 singles bands, but that's like the closest album I'd say that would come to being like really, really good album.
But yeah, so even the 60s, it's going to be very mid to late 60s. It's going to be really heavy in that period, I think. Mm-hmm. But even then, like you can cover, like I was thinking, like, well, you want to cover British Invasion. That's a huge genre. You want to cover folk rock. Folk rock was huge. You want to maybe cover folk. I mean, Bob Dylan, of course. You want to cover him. Then in the late 60s, you want to cover psychedelic rock because that really came huge. And more of the harder rock in the late 60s. So there's definitely a little bit of variety there. You still want to cover. Like when you get to 80s, I don't know 80s as much as Brian, but I'm guessing at some point you get like heavy metal is like a new genre.
Heavy metal was like dominating.
You definitely want to cover, even though I'm not a heavy metal guy, I feel like, well, I still need to cover that era. Yeah. Or there's hair metal or hair band.
Hair bands. Then there's synth pop or new wave.
Yeah, of course.
New wave.
Moving pictures. Of course, you can't go without noticing that album.
Yeah, so you want to cover. So each decade, I think, has a variety of music that's kind of special to that decade that you want to cover. That's kind of my idea, kind of like trying to cover.
I'm excited for the 60s part, especially the 60s and the 70s is going to be, 60s is my decade, 70s, maybe me and I would say Breyer and I guess it would be all of our decades. It would, not as much for me, but for like I know quite a bit of 70s albums like Led Zeppelin, The Who released quite a bit of albums that decade. Of course, there's Queen, of course, like I mentioned already. That's when the Police started. I think was 78. I think with their first album. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Thanks. Then there's In Through the Outdoor, which I already said this album, but In Through the Outdoors, like borderline 80s. But I'm excited. 80s is gonna be a struggle for me. Yeah.
Right, 80s is a struggle for me. So, but that's why I thought Breyer hopefully can be good on that. Garrett's 80s as far as his 80s music knowledge, but I feel like the four of us are knowledgeable enough. We can probably come up with a pretty good list. And that's why I wanted to do it with a group, because I thought I could do it by myself, but then I just thought it'd be funner if I had other guys on that are very knowledgeable in that era as well, that they can. Because I was like, because Brian could throw out, a Van Halen album, and I was like, okay, great. I don't know Van Halen, but let's put it on the list because I trust his knowledge in Van Halen or something, And then if you put something out, then I go, okay, I don't have to worry about putting a Van Halen on there because Brian probably picked a good one, and because I feel like I'll put one out there, and then it'll be like, there's probably a better one out there that I missed, and I'm like, oh gosh, I hope I don't put the wrong, if I'm not knowledgeable in that. But
all right, I got you.
Anyways, yeah, that's my idea, because I thought we could put a pretty good list together. It'd be kind of fun and entertaining, kind of.
Yeah.
It gives us a chance to just talk about music we like, and as well as why we think it's important to put on the list. I think that'd be kind of fun, and it'd be educational maybe if someone doesn't know music from that era.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think it'd be fun. I mean, it's a bit. I mean, I already kind of went and made lists out because I love making lists.
Same here. I started mine already.
Okay, I was like, so I don't know how much time I need to make a list, or when we need to do it. If I need to, wait a month before we should be ready, I don't know.
Yeah, I think for me, 60s and 70s are already set in stone. I still need to go through my 80s stuff. I mean, might as well just watch my 80s series. But anyhow, but yeah, I'll go through what I have for the 80s again. I'll have 50, and 90s. We'll see if we ever do that.
Yeah, me and Briar, well, not Briar, me and Garrett kind of started our albums of the year, and then we just kind of stopped doing that after a bit.
Yeah.
Probably because he started working his job and stuff, and he just doesn't have Saturdays anymore, I guess. Like in the morning, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like even with the album ranking, like we used to do that a lot, but yeah, I kind of miss that.
Yeah, those were good. Those were good days.
I like those.
Yeah, the Beach Boys was kind of pushing it, but anyhow,
it was fun. The Beach Boys and the Rolling Stones was too much. Those videos, those were like both over 2 hours. Gotta work the next day, and oh man, I don't want to think about that. Especially the Beach Boys, like, oh man, that was a struggle.
Yeah, well, Wednesday probably about it. Whenever him again.
I mean, at least we followed up with like Simon and Garfunkel. At least we followed up by that.
Yeah, that's right.
We have like 5 albums, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot easier. Same with the Police.
Yeah. All right. Well, we went
to the 90s. All right.
Sorry. You go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No.
Once we get to the 90s, like, it's funny. I was making my 90s list and 2000s list, and it is very female heavy. Like, I didn't realize how much female heavy it is.
Yeah. It's most heavy. Yeah. I kind of the same thing. Like, once at a certain point, I kind of favor the females more.
Yeah, it was weird because I was like going through the 90s, and I was like, well, this is me thinking, because I was like, well, I got to put Lady Gaga because she's so huge in music. Yeah. Even though I'm not a Lady Gaga person, I'm like, I feel like I need to put her in there. So I researched like what was the best album. So I got one in case I need to put it on the list. I have it ready on my list. So if I feel like I should put Lady Gaga on, I don't know if I will, but I'm like, I feel like I should put her on.
The 2000s. 2000s is gonna be hard.
I only know 2 albums in the 90s. That Wonderwall album and Nevermind. and like a few Guns N' Roses albums, and that's it.
But then I was thinking like Beyonce. I was thinking Mariah Carey was huge. Whitney Houston was huge. Katy Perry has been pretty big. Even
Smashing Pumpkins was 90s.
What's that?
Was Smashing Pumpkins 90s?
Yeah. Yes.
My mom was she wasn't a fan of them, but she introduced me to them, and I gotta check their albums out so I could put them on the list.
Yeah, Siamese Dreams and Madness, I think.
Yeah, those were good. Jason recommended me those too, and those I enjoyed them.
But I don't know if I missed anybody. Adele is big. Celine Dion was big in the 90s. anyway, so I have like a huge list of female artists in the 90s and 2000s. It's kind of interesting. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize like how much. I don't know why I don't have as much in the 60s, 70s period. I don't listen to that many females for some reason. I guess because I'm more into the bands and stuff of that period. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Well, of course there was the Diane Ross and the Supremes at one
Oh,
point.
yeah.
huge.
But their albums weren't like really like their albums weren't like their I call it the Green Album because it's like a green album. Where Did Our Love Go or whatever that album is. That's like their best album and
Okay.
that's like their, and even then their albums aren't that like they're like, again like Breyer was mentioning before, Motown was more of a singles game, and not until like the 70s did Motown really like Stevie Wonder and stuff really became like really focused on like albums like Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
And Diane Ross, of course.
Anyway, so sorry, Brian. That's my.
No, you're fine. You're fine. All right, so we're at 140, 1 hour 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We went over 130, but yeah, gave an extra 15 minutes. I'll take it. All right, so I'm definitely looking forward to the Essential albums. That'll definitely be fun to participate in.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead and check out these two channels out. Of course, also Josh as well. Like I said, I'll have links to all these channels in the description, of course. So yeah, I think that will conclude this impromptu stream. Again, thank you for these two for joining me. It's definitely a lot of fun. Hopefully, maybe we'll do more of these in the future.
Yep. If I'm ever busy. I mean, if I'm not busy, during the weekend day, I'll definitely join.
Yeah, when I saw your thing, I was like, oh man, I hope I get to be on because I love to talk to Briar. So I was like,
I appreciate it.
Especially since it's myth and legend,
Yeah. Before we one more thing before we go, a couple more comments by Irish. I got about 50 albums that are my favorite. Yeah. Oh wow, look who just shows up near the end.
Are we ending? Oh shit.
Oh, leave, man.
I literally just ended this phone call. Man. God damn it. Anyway.
Don't worry, we're Briar was about to mention that he was about to drop your channel name in the description.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so yeah, Josh, you were here earlier, but do you have anything you wanted to say what's going on your channel and stuff like that? This even go for 2 hours.
So just anything that's happening on the channel?
Yeah, just anything's going on.
Okay. Yeah. I've got a Little Mermaid review coming out. It's not going to be positive.
Oh.
I haven't heard one yet.
Yeah, I know.
It's spooky. It's spooky. It's not good. I might have a favorite albums of the year so far video come out eventually. I've got a video of a couple artists planned. So I've got a few things planned for the future.
All right, nice. And one more comment. I get one. He wanted to mention Deep Purple.
Yeah, for the 70s, I assume.
Yeah, for the 70s. Yes, I'll definitely have something.
I know Briar is big on that.
I'll probably mention their 60s albums because they have some great 60s albums.
Yeah, the first 3 were not too bad.
I thought I preferred over the 70s stuff, but
wow, okay,
that's just me though. No, I'm just a 60s guy.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, those first 3 albums. Yeah, they're definitely very different. A lot more psychedelic than their 70s stuff.
That's probably one of my favorite genres. That's why.
Yeah, but yeah, there's some good stuff in that.
They have Hush though, which is one of the biggest
Hush. That was the biggest single they did on the first album.
Yeah.
Josh, we're talking about like putting together like album, important albums for like each decade kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously, we're not as. I don't think either 3 of us are as good on current music.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, you could join us on that.
Obviously, you like Phoebe Bridgers. I don't know if there's anybody else you would put in that list of like the last 20 years or.
So the most influential albums?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Like say for like you meet someone who hasn't listened to music and we're just going by 60s, 70s, 80s or whatever, and just coming up with like essential albums that are like to us that are important for the decade.
Yeah, I've never listened to albums of this decade. What would you recommend?
Like for example, of course, Sgt. Pepper's and stuff like that.
All right. So for this decade, Frank Ocean's Blonde and Channel Orange are 2 which you need to check out FK Twigs Magdalene. That's a banger of an album. Just checking what else there is. Billie Eilish, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go?
Yeah, that's definitely a big album. It won album of the year, I think. And
Yeah.
Yes,
one,
it did.
and
It
that
deserved
album
it.
won
It's
so
so
many
good.
awards.
it won a bunch of awards. Yeah, that's Billie Eilish is one I don't know much about.
I've got the vinyl and CD of it. It's so good. Just such a
Okay.
good album. I'd say Charlie XCX Charlie.
Okay, I've
That's a
heard of
banger. Crash as well. Scissors Control. That really introduces you to Kendrick Lamar's Damn. Just having a look through, see what else is. An album from last year, which I definitely recommend, is Ethel Cain's Preacher's Daughter. Really haunting album, but it's so good. It's so good. Really disturbing, but it's got some great vocals and great kind of atmosphere to it. You got Bon Iver, Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah, Taylor Swift. Yeah.
I know Taylor Swift. It feels like I hate to put her on the list, but I feel like I had to because she's definitely been
influential.
Yeah.
I do have Midnights. I did enjoy that one.
No, there's a reason it's called Midnights, because it's mid as well.
Right.
It's just like ah.
I probably would include Lana Del Rey because my little brother became a fan of hers.
I've heard of her. Yeah.
NFL is her best album. Her new one's not bad. It's got Jack Antonoff in the mix, who's a good producer, who's worked with Taylor Swift recently. But I'm not too big on Born to Die. I've got the vinyl of it and I don't like it. I'm not too big on.
Did you like Harry Styles?
Yeah, I've got Fine Line. I like Fine Line quite a bit.
His last album won the album of the year. I know.
Yeah, that was whack. That was
Harry
whack.
Styles.
My mom loves Harry Styles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's really into them.
Yeah, I can see
he shouldn't have won that. I wouldn't usually say this, but Beyonce should have won that because that album was so good.
Yeah.
That Renaissance album was.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, those ones I'd say.
Yeah, I definitely don't know a lot of those, so that's definitely something I have to check.
Yeah. We got a lot of homework, Jason. Jason.
You got some Spanish music. You got Machita by
Spanish is
Silvano Estrada.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've also got Natalia Lafourcade's La Torres de Flores, I think.
Okay.
That's so
Oh
nice.
yeah, we didn't really consider foreign artists.
And Rosalia as well. Rosalia's right there.
Yeah, Spanish is kind of popular with like Bad Bunny and stuff, I think.
Oh, Bad Bunny.
Oh man, I have a friend who loves Bad Bunny.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just know him because he wrestles a lot, so I see him.
He wrestles. He acts.
He's in a Bullet Train. That's why I seen him in that as well.
For like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I gotta head out. My computer's about to die.
Okay.
All right, Nick. Thanks for stopping by, Nick.
Thanks for that series, and is excited to do the Small Faces review. Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
But I'm trying to think of it. Claro. I love Claro a lot.
Claro?
Yeah. Olivia Rodrigo is where it's at as well.
Oh yeah, I've heard of her too.
I will not put any Lizzo albums. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, Lizzo, god damn.
I will not put any of her albums on my list. I don't know. I don't want anything to do with Lizzo.
Fiona Apple.
Fiona Apple, no, yeah.
I've heard of her.
I love Fiona Apple.
Look, Irish has a little recommendation. Try the Ferryman, One More River to Cross from 2022.
Oh, add that to the
Ferryman?
Oh, okay. Oh, it's from Dublin. Oh.
I'm guessing he's from Irish. He's Irish.
Wait, hold on.
Whatever.
It's in the right one. Ferryman, One More River Across.
I think that was it recently. Okay. Well, anyways, that's yeah, definitely a lot of artists I'm still not. I need to look up.
Okay, so the ferrymen are Swedish.
Ah, okay.
Interesting. All right. But yeah, like I said earlier, me and Jason have a lot of homework to do for the
Yeah,
the 2000s.
I've just played a bit of one of their songs, and it's not for me. It's too heavy.
Gotcha.
I don't like metal music at all, and that's metal.
That seems more up my alley then.
Yeah, that'd be up your alley, bro.
Yeah, metal's not my thing.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Okay, so there's some good ones there. Yeah, like I said, definitely looking forward for that essential ones. So we'll see when we can get together and do that, because that's a very fun discussion there. And of course, Josh, if you want to join in on the 2000s and or more, I'm sure Jason's more than welcome.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
All right, so normally I'll be very picky about the time because it's a 1 minute 55. Because I could go for 2 hours, but I think we're good.
Yeah.
All right, and even Irish says good night. So on that note, so for the remaining people still watching, again, thank you so much for watching this. Again, very impromptu, but this was a lot of fun, especially getting to talk with these two, and also with Nick as well. Definitely a lot of fun talking with them. We'll see if they come back again at some point. But until then, again, links to their channels are in the description. So this is Briar's Music Showcase along with Jason Millennial and Josh from Through the Lens. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
He just disappeared.
Okay.
Is he still live? It says it's still live.
Yeah, you're right. It does say live.
Oh, I guess we're entertaining. Damn.
I hit the wrong button.
I was thinking to myself, man.
Like, what happened?
Oh well, that'll be a good blooper. Now will it? All right,
Yeah.
now goodbye. Peace and
Goodbye,
love.
people.
Bye.
For real this time.